Alright guys, in this video we're going to style some menus. So we're going to create a vertical like side menu and then also a navigation bar that goes horizontal. So let's create a new file called 09_menus.html. And for the title I'm just going to say menu styling. And let's add in our style tags. And for the markup, we just want to add a UL, and I'm going to give it a class of side menu. Okay, we're going to have a list item with a link inside of it. Doesn't matter where it goes. And then let's just say home for the text. And then we'll copy this down a few times, and this one will be about. This will be services. And this will be contact. Okay, let's save that. Let's open it up. And there we go, looks horrendous. First thing I'm going to do is for the body, I'm just going to change the font family to, let's do Arial. And next thing we want to target the side menu, which is the UL. And I want to get rid of the bullets because by default, ULs have these disk bullets. Now you can get rid of these within the UL or within the list item with the list style property, and we want to set that to none. So we'll save that. That gets rid of them. You can see we also have the Arial font. Next thing I want to do is add a border around the whole UL. So we'll say border, and let's set it to 1 pixel. I want to do a light gray, so I'm going to do DDD, and let's do solid. Save that, good. Let's do a border radius just to add a slight curve. We'll do 10 pixels. And let's set a width of 300 pixels. Kind of shorten it a little bit. And let's set the padding. Now, by default, unordered lists have 40 pixels padding on the left, as you can see, that's pushed over. So doing padding 20 pixels on all sides is going to overwrite that. So if I save that, you can see now we have 20 pixels on all sides. And then I think that's all I want to do for the UL. So now we're going to focus on the list items themselves. So side menu list items, and we want to set the font size a little bigger. By default it's 16. We're going to set it to 18. I think I have this zoomed in. Let me just see real quick. Yeah, so that's normal. That's 100%. So font size 18. I also want them spread apart quite a bit, so I'm going to use line height and set it to 2.4 em. Save that, and it's going to spread them apart. Let's see, what else do we want here? Let's do a border bottom on each one. And I'm going to do dotted for the style, 1 pixel, and the same color as the UL border. So you can see that each one now has this bottom border. Now, one thing I want to show you is the borders I put them here to separate the links, and we don't need the last one under contact, so we can actually use a pseudo selector called last child to target the last list item. So let's say side menu li : last dash child. Okay, and we'll get into some of the other pseudo selectors later on. We can select the first one, we can select anything in the middle, we can do like all the even, all the odd, and it's pretty powerful. But just for now, we're going to use last child and set border to none and save, and now the last link here, or the last list item, doesn't have a border. So for the styling of the actual links, the color and the underline, we have to target the A tag. So let's do side menu list item A, and let's change the color to 333. Let's get rid of the underline with text decoration none. Save that. And for the hover, right now it doesn't change at all, so I want to actually change the color for that. So let's say side, I don't know why I keep doing slide. Let's do LIA : hover, and let's change the color to coral. So now when I hover over a link, it turns into the coral color. All right, so I think that that's pretty much it. It's not the best looking menu, but it looks a lot better than the standard unordered list. So now we're going to move on to the navigation menu. So I'm just going to put a comment right here, side menu. And down here, let's just copy this up. So I'm going to do Shift Option up, and this one I'm going to change the class to navbar. And let's just put a couple line breaks in between these two to kind of just separate them a little bit. All right, so this is our navbar. So we want this to go straight across, and we want these links or the list items to float. So let's go under, actually we'll go above since navbar is at the top. All right, so we want to target the UL, which is called navbar. And the first thing I want to do is remove the bullets. So we're going to say list style none. Okay, now I want to take away all the margin and all the padding. Save that, good. Let's see, next thing we want to do is add the background. I'm going to use that Facebook style blue, which is 4C6 CA0. Okay, we'll save that. Let's add a border radius of 5 pixels. Okay, now I'm going to go down here and we're going to say navbar list item, and we want to float these because we want them to be side by side. We don't want them to go down. We don't want them to be vertical. So let's float all of the list items to the left, so they'll kind of just stack side by side. So I'll save that, and it happened. They float now to the left, but the background is now gone. Since we floated it, it kind of collapsed the background. So the way that we can fix this is go to the navbar, the parent element, and we want to add in overflow and set that to auto and save. And now we get the background back. All right, because now the background is going to basically pertain to whatever content is inside of it. And you can set this to hidden as well. If you have some content that goes outside of the element and it has a scroll bar, and let's say you don't want that scroll bar there, you can set overflow to hidden. And I'm sure we'll run into that later. But now that we have the background, let's start to style the links. So we want to say navbar li a, and let's change the color to white. Okay, we'll take away the underline. Save that. And we want to display as block. Let's actually move this up to the top. Okay. Now, since we display block, we can add some padding, and it's going to give some space on the top, bottom here, also space in between all of the links. So let's say for each link we want some padding. We want to do 15 on the top and bottom, and we want to do 20 on the left and right. So let's save that, and there we go. So it kind of filled out the wrapper, the navbar UL. All right, so that looks pretty good. Let's make it so that when we hover over a link, the background changes color. So I'm just going to make it a slightly darker than the blue it already is. So let's say navbar list item a hover, and we're going to do a background color, and that's going to be, let's see, what is that going to be? 446,190, which is slightly darker. We can also change the color of the text. We'll just do like a light gray, slight change. So now if we go up and we hover, you'll see that it changes the background and it takes up the whole area of the link. Now, sometimes you might see people put the padding on the list item, but that's not really a good idea, especially if you want to have the hover state take up the whole thing like this. Otherwise, it would just take up like a square around it, which doesn't look very good. And you'll see different ways to create nav bars. I think that this specific CSS is probably the easiest to do this. And you'll see if I make this bigger, it just stretches along. If I make it really small, well, actually we don't have enough links here, but if we had more links, it would just knock on to the next line, which doesn't look very good. So later on, I'm going to show you how to create a more responsive nav bar where it will kind of, when you get to a certain screen size, like for a smartphone, they'll actually switch to going this way, and it'll look nice and neat, centered and stuff like that. All right, so next I quickly want to look at the display property. You see how I did display block here? We can change inline to block and vice versa. There's also something called inline block. So we're gonna take a look at that in the next video.